Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey, everybody. I felt like Hey, what's going on? I'm really not amped up to 11 tonight, I swear. I feel like I probably just didn't get enough sleep. We've got some excitement tonight. We've got some exciting things to talk about. We're going to talk about some movies, some that were good, some that might have enraged Randy. We're going to talk about I don't know where everybody's at tonight. Matty D. I guess Matty D. He's the main comic book holdover from when we actually talk comics.
Yeah.
We might have some comics to talk about tonight. What?
Oh my word.
Wow.
Oh my word. Is this still the Grawlix podcast?
In the future.
Oh! In the future.
In the past, we talked about comic books. And a lot of those comic books happen to also be about Swamp Thing, which might be what we're talking about tonight.
What? What year is it? I thought it was 2022.
Oh, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, no, yeah. Pre all of this nonsense, we talked comic books. You remember those days?
I wonder what the golden year for Grawlix was.
Where'd we hit our stride? After we
17.
After
Maybe.
we decided not to do 3-hour long episodes and we started batch recording and splitting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that was definitely a good period when we'd still record 3-hour episodes. We'd just make sure to cut them in half and release them as 2 separate episodes.
Right.
Now podcast editor Randy's 30 minutes that's about max for a good episode. Don't go over 30 minutes.
Right. And we still do it every week.
An hour's too long.
I think an hour's okay, but I think more than an hour is too much.
I agree. I've come around to it. Unless I'm doing the podcast, then I don't care.
Right.
Hi, Savannah.
Hello.
Savannah. Shout out to Savannah, our cat dancer. I feel we shouldn't do the shout outs off the top.
The shout meowt.
The meowed outs. Our cat
The meowed
dancer.
outs, yes. Oh, man.
There's 2 Savannahs.
Whoa.
Careful. We're getting into doppelganger territory here.
Okay.
So I'm coming to you from the Grawlix time tunnel, by the way.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, well, first off, how are you 2 doing? Did I ask you already?
I don't know, but I'm stuffy.
Doing well.
I'm stuffy, so if I sniffle or whatnot, I apologize.
You sound a little snuffy.
Yeah, I know.
Sniffly?
I sound like Snuffleupagus.
Speaking of Snuffleupagus, HBO Max has got a great documentary on Sesame Street. It will both delight you and enrage you because you'll be
Really?
like, wait a minute. We used to live in a world where people cared.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's owned by HBO now, right? Or Warner Brothers, I guess.
Yeah, they part own it or something. Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know exactly how that works out, which is interesting that they put this documentary together about how they got funding for it from PB, the public broadcasting system, and
Right.
Yeah. When I shouldn't say that everything about the past is great, but Sesame Street in the past was great.
All right.
Yep.
What else? Hey. So, how did that Sesame Street thing come up?
Snuffleupagus?
Right.
I was gonna say because it's got puppets and Jesse loves puppets, but
Well,
never mind.
yeah. If I can find a segue into puppets, I'm going to.
So
You got,
I don't want to.
bigs too. You got Frank Oz, Jim Henson. I mean, I could talk about Sesame Street for a while, but let's go.
That reminds me of the best. What is it?
Epic rap battle
Yeah, the best epic rap battle.
of his.
What was that?
Yeah.
Stan Lee versus
Jim Henson.
Jim Henson. That was good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Every time that channel, they still put stuff out, but it's a lot longer intervals now. Every time they put out a new one, I watch it. I'm usually like, okay, that was all right. And then I go watch that one every time because it's the best one. It's so good.
I really like the film one too. I really like the one with the directors.
Oh yeah, that one is pretty good.
That's another one of my top ones. So the film directors, the Stan Lee one, and Jim Henson, and then the artist one. Like the first time they did an art one, which was Pablo Picasso versus Bob Ross. Love that one. Used to show it in my methods course. I have to put a disclaimer. I was like, you wouldn't show this in your class, but if it were a clean version of if there were a world where you could, why would this be good? Why can't I show it to you?
Epic rap battles of Hustler. Yeah.
So good. If you're on YouTube and you haven't watched any of those, you really should do that next after you watch this live stream.
I don't want to say none of the ones that they've done more recently have hit me as much, but like some of the classics are still the classics, I guess is what I should say. But I was so glad to see they came back because they were owned, like the series was owned by whatever company, Disney. Like, so like when they did that whole like Disney sweatshop thing with the Jim Henson and Stan Lee one, they have the line, in fact, what's his name? Walt Disney or whatever comes up. He's like, in fact, I own this whole series. Like technically Disney did own them at that time, which is part of what makes it great. But
wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. That's part of what. Oh, it's so good. But they don't now. Like I think eventually they got the rights back or whatever.
Yeah, they're creator owned now, and they're like Patreon funded, basically.
Right. Yeah. So they came back independent, which is cool.
Good.
We're also independent. We survive on the contributions from people like Savannah and others. So go to Patreon and support us.
Yep. Patreon.com/Grawlix podcast for as low as $1 a month, or if you want to join Savannah in the elite cat dancing tier, $10 a month.
Ooh.
Shout out to Savannah. You could get a shout out too. Hit us up at Patreon. Hit us up at Patreon. It helps us out. It definitely does. I withdrew Patreon money today for stuff, so it actually gets used to. It actually like applies. It does go to sustaining the show. So.
Yep. So what are we talking about today?
Okay. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about what we've been watching.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about before we jump into. That's right, Savannah. She says yay, by the way.
Yeah.
Future audio listeners.
Randy made me watch Neon Genesis Evangelion.
We watched almost all of it. Pretty much all of it. Savannah's watched the first 3 episodes of Venture Brothers.
About time.
You need to keep watching. It's so good.
Oh man, early Venture Brothers is so much fun. It's all fun, but like,
yeah.
It's interesting because the characters that are there, they're established. Like they hit the ground running. But it becomes such a character show, like a character ensemble piece. Like after a while, at first it's a little bit more straightforward parody of like Johnny Quest and stuff like that. But eventually, like they do so well at building their own world. They don't even have to parody things anymore. They just like can do their own stuff. And I
think the thing I said to get her to watch it was I gave her kind of the background of, I don't even remember what his actual name is, but the guy with the big H on his head.
Sergeant Hatred?
Yeah, I gave her a little bit of his backstory, and I was like, so that's a character. And she's like, what? And I'm like, right? There you go. That's the kind of show it is.
Oh, yeah. Ignore me, Savannah says.
Oh, yeah, she liked that too.
Someday, we might have a shirt. Strangers with t-shirts might have a design that goes along with that. Ignore me.
Yep. If Cartoon Network ever approves it, then yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't got approved. I think I'll have to like take it down and resubmit. I think it's just gone, lost. Like through TeePublic, the like fan art submission thing.
Oh yeah.
Their shows take like 6 years to come back, so it wouldn't surprise me, if
Right. Oh, it's so good though. The little piece of artwork I did for it. I'm super proud of it. But
It is awesome.
anyway. But yeah, real quick, because I didn't really Neon Genesis Evangelion. How is that said? Evangelion.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know gits about Neon Genesis.
No.
Melanie and I watched the entire series, and then we watched the end of Evangelion movie. So we watched all the classic stuff, and mainly it was my doing. I was like, "Hey, let's try watching this," because it was. I know it's a weird show, and it's kind of like iconic anime series, and I've never really watched it. I remember watching a little bit of the movie once with no context, and that's not a thing to do. Ooh. So, yeah, we watched it. It was real interesting.
Very emo.
It's so extreme.
Yeah, that tracks. I think Japan was ahead of the curve on emo.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, but all the characters, they just hate themselves, and they will shout that out loud multiple times. Mm-hmm. Especially the further you get into the series, everybody's just like, "I hate me." So,
well, I think they've been emo pre-Akira. Like.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
they're like, I want everybody to stay away from me, but I love me still.
yeah.
There's a like they kind of did a remake of the series in the form of some movies, more modern. Like the fourth one just came out. I actually watched while Melanie you were gone today. I watched a little bit of the first one to see, and it was good so far. But it's totally like a rehash of the first couple episodes. So I know it diverges at a certain point.
Are they still super like, emo?
Kind of, but it's right at the beginning, so you just get the one like the main boy's emo-ness.
Yeah. Well, he was the worst one.
Yes, the anime. We're gonna hit all the things tonight, Savannah.
Yeah.
Anime. Anyway, I liked it. I liked it. It's weird. There's a lot of creepiness to it. There's a lot of creepiness. There's young characters, and it's not like super. I think exploitative of the young characters, but it is very much a coming of age story. So, that's a little creepy in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
It likes to look at the girls. The show.
That's kind of anime in general, I think.
But that is kind of anime in general.
Yeah. It was okay, but it's not my thing. It's not my kind of thing. I mean, he was a reluctant hero, maybe, but other than that, I'm not into like the war. I'm not into religion. I'm not into like a lot of the things that are its themes. So, but I still watched it, and it was still okay.
I would say he's less of a reluctant hero and more just reluctant until you get to the movie, and then he's just a reluctant sex pest. So
yeah, that's true.
They take the opening scene of the movie. It's like, oh wow, you just added a whole new dimension to that character that wasn't evident in the series at all. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, shout out to the
bots.
Shout out to the Russian YouTube bot. What's going on?
Sweet.
I'm not going to go to that fight.
That's how you know we're on YouTube.
Oh, I can block that user, but does that block them here or on YouTube itself? Probably just here. Jesse, what else have you watched? Because I know the other thing that Melanie and I have watched, because we've pretty much just watched a movie and then the Neon Genesis stuff. So what else did you watch, Jesse?
Well, do you want to go TV or do you want to go movies?
Let's stick with TV for a moment.
Okay. So TV, the main thing that I have watched is The Book of Fett.
Right.
So I just recently, we just sat down and watched the most recent episode tonight, and so I'm all caught up.
Mm-hmm.
What days do new episodes come out?
Wednesdays. I think that's kind of the new Disney Plus release date for the most part.
Okay, I'll remember that. Yeah, we haven't watched episode 3 yet, but we did watch 2, so we watched 1 and 2.
What'd you guys think of 2? Because I loved 2. Like I liked 1. I loved 2.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the flashback part of 2, which felt
Right.
like most of the episode, honestly. But the train thing, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, they're still totally doing a Western. This is
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
more of a
Yes.
Western than a lot of Mandalorian was, actually.
Right. It was
Um,
it was Dances with Bantha, or like
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was blatantly Native Americans and dealing with white man bringing the train through, right? Like,
right.
it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
I was upset that even when they died and they threw them on the big fire pile, you never got to see their faces. I wanted them to take off their masks so I can see who they are.
Yeah, it is. What's that dog doing? Okay, yeah, Jesse's taking care of business at home. It is weird that, yeah. So are the masks just their faces?
No, I mean, it's obviously not. It's obviously stuff that they put on over their faces, but I want to know what their faces look like. Are they fish people? I'm sure they're not because it's a dry planet, but it looks like it used to be an ocean in their trippy lizard flashbacks, you know?
It is weird that they established that even in death, they dispose of them. They don't take the mask off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They that comes up in episode 3. Like they kind of hint that there's more to Tatooine, or however you pronounce it.
Are they fish
and,
people?
And the water situation. Oh, the pike? I think so.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
Tusken Raiders.
What else did you watch, Jesse?
Okay, so the other thing that I watched was, so back to movies. I watched The Green Knight, so I caught up to you guys.
Mm-hmm. Did you love it?
I did love it. So I do get, because I had a bunch of people that were like, "You want to watch the stupidest movie ever? Watch The Green Knight." I was just like, "What?" Because I also had heard incredible things. It was like 50-50. And so then I watched it and I was like, okay, I get why they're mad. Like, after seeing it, I was like, okay, I see why they're mad. I think they're wrong, but I get why they're mad. Like, yeah. So yeah, no, I loved it. It is slow and plodding, and so I know exactly like the people who watch it and exactly what like their motivation is for going to movies, and this just spits in the eye of that a little bit.
I'm a little surprised. The trailer kind of put it out there, but then again, people, if they're not familiar with, first off, A24, you see that studio attached, just assume it's going to be a slow burn, regardless of what kind of movie it is.
Yeah.
Right.
But the trailer, that's what so intrigued me, because it's like, oh, a fantasy movie, except the trailer played it like a weird indie art house movie, which is exactly how the movie comes across. And that's what intrigued me. But like Andrew had, Andrew's Clay Creations and more, he had posted on Facebook a while back that he hated it. And he was, I don't know, I guess expecting more of a traditional fantasy movie, and he referenced, what was the other movie? I'd never even heard of it, but it was based roughly on the same source material.
Oh, okay.
Some like 80s fantasy movie.
But they even had old, like The Green Knight, didn't they? Old
No, I don't know that. Well, at least the movie that he had mentioned in his post wasn't that. But I was like, oh, if you're expecting that, yeah, I get the disappointment. This isn't that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the source material is a poem, so I feel like this movie looked like what poetry should look like.
I really liked the unique take on. I liked the giants, for example.
I love the giant part.
God, the giants are cool.
They don't look like you'd expect giants to look in a fantasy movie. They just look like huge, creepy people.
Scary for a totally different reason than you're used to. Yeah.
And I love the sound, because if something was that big, then the noises they would make would be
More like a
like
whale.
long and deep, and
By the way, Savannah says she rewatched Throw Mama from the Train.
All right.
All right, classic, yeah.
Yeah. Billy Crystal. Who was the other guy in that? Was that the Danny DeVito?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
It's an odd pairing.
So where Jesse? Where does Green Knight? Where does that sit with you?
Oh man, it's so fresh that it's hard for me to say, but you're like I think it's up there. Like the more I like it, the more I like it, the more I think about it, the more I like it. Like I just love the idea. I'm like, first of all, the Arthurian lore is interesting in and of itself, but also the fact that this is like towards the end of Arthur's reign kind of deal, and dealing with almost a Faustian, like this character who's just, he's not doing anything good, really,
Yeah.
And then like in his grand moment of I'm gonna prove myself, he overdoes it. Like he's so overdoes it, and then he's faced down just in the course of his journey with all of his shortcomings over and over again. And then in the end, like it gets wibbly wobbly in such a good way. Like I don't want to spoil any of it because you should either be just totally in love with this ending or hate it like these other people do. Like, but I think the fact that you have such a visceral reaction just pushes this into another level for me. Like that's what I think a really good movie will do. Like love it or hate it, man, you are talking about it and thinking about it, because even the people who hate this movie are adamant. And I was like, that's what good movies do. Like, you're not sitting on the fence on this one. Most people are either going to love it or hate it. I don't think too many people are going to be like, yeah, it was all right. You're coming away from this either truly appreciating what they did or baffled by it, annoyed by it, and feel like you wasted 2 hours of your life, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of, it's a little subversive. It's intentionally a little bit, even just the way they handled the hero's arc, the hero's journey. It's not that, because he's not particularly an honorable person.
No.
At any point. So.
No, really.
And that's kind of a major theme of the movie. It's kind of a big point of it.
Yeah.
I love the speech the guy in the house towards the end has, or the little conversation he has with the guy in the house, because there's the man and the woman that live in that mansion, about the guy. The guy's like, so you just you're otherwise kind of a slouch or whatever, and you just go up over there on this journey and you're a hero. You're a changed person. He's like, oh, I hope so. And he's like, well, I hope we recognize you when you get back then. It's just like, yeah.
Oh, and then the cinematography, like the very beginning of the whole thing, where it's like it's just slowly panning out and like things are just starting to happen, and you're like focused in on this peasant hut until this building over here catches on fire. It's just slowly coming through, and then you're in the whorehouse.
Yep.
With our hero.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Some people just don't dig, like, stylistically and even like the storytelling. They're not going to dig it. It's the A24 thing. Like, that's kind of almost become the studio's like thumbprint. It's kind of their thing, is like weird art house. Most of the movies aren't just weird for weird. I've heard very strange things about a recent movie from out of the studio called Lamb that does look like kind of just weird to be weird, but they're not necessarily just weird to be weird. They're usually interesting experiences, I guess. But whatever. It's like I said, I feel like the premise was like, Arthurian fantasy movie, except, what if Stanley Kubrick did it when he was in a bad mood?
right, a little bit, yeah. Yeah, no, I dug it. It's probably, I don't know. I don't like giving things stars, but like four,
right?
4.5. I don't know. It was really good. Usually my high star ones are ones I'm going to rewatch like over and over and over. I don't know how often I would rewatch this, but I would definitely rewatch this. And would I recommend it? I would recommend it to certain people.
Yeah.
Because if you're like an adrenaline junkie who loves movies that are just escapism, this is escapism, but it's going to bore some of my friends, you know, like
Right.
my good friend of the show, Axton Kaler. I would never ever recommend this one to him.
Oh, really? It's not. This isn't his
This
kind
would
of
not
thing, huh?
be his cup of tea. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're into those kind of movies, you know. So based on what we've said, I think you'll know if you'll like it or not, or
Yeah.
potentially like it. What else? What else? Really, Melanie and I, we've already covered what we watched: Neon Genesis and oh no, we haven't. The other movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't Look Up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we should get into that because like my other ones are like Cobra Kai and some other movies that we can save for a later date and expand on them more.
I don't know if Savannah's still around. She said she'll listen later. She had to put Reed to bed. So Melanie and I know at least watched this because Savannah
Oh yeah.
kept mentioning it.
Somebody else mentioned it too. I can't remember. Oh, Tina. Yeah.
So what do you guys think of are we talking about this now?
Yeah, that's it.
I think we should.
Okay.
I liked it, but
Okay.
I also liked it because it makes me mad. I think that's the point. I think that's why most people who do like this movie like it is because it's like, oh my god, it's like Idiocracy 2.0, like a smarter version of Idiocracy, really.
I feel like I actually wrote a review of it on Letterboxd, a short one.
Ooh.
So you know I had strong feelings.
You
I
were
only
serious,
I do
yeah.
that rarely.
Yeah,
But for me, I think it's a good movie. I didn't enjoy it though. I did not enjoy watching it. And part of that might be just like kind of my attitude about news and current events anymore. Like sometime in this last year, the world broke me and I just can't deal with I can't.
Yeah.
Certain things just get under my skin instantaneously, and this just hits on it. It's just the utter stupidity, and it hits on it really well to where partway through the movie I'm like, this sucks. I hate this movie.
Yeah. It's like the reverse of what we were just talking about. Like the fact that you had such a visceral reaction means they did their job, maybe a little too well.
I think exactly, and that's what I said. I was like in my Letterboxd review. I was like, they accomplished what they set out to accomplish because it made me so it was a very unpleasant watch. And I think, like you mentioned, Idiocracy, and it is that same type of like they're going for satire, but I feel like for me, what might have improved it, unlike Idiocracy, I don't think they added enough either super intriguing characters or story. The characters were not bad; they were mostly likable. Not that they have to be likable, or more humor. And I felt like it was not quite heavy on either of those to like.
Didn't love the Jonah Hill stuff.
It was okay. It was okay.
Meryl Streep, man, I was shocked how well she just slunk into that role.
Right.
It was like, whoa, all right.
It's interesting. That's because it's such an obviously, modeled after a certain administration, but with the face of another potential administration.
Right.
I feel like it's a little intentional to like not confuse, but to like, not be, because if it was some rich orange guy, like it'd be so on the nose.
Right.
So they kind of whatever, but
Subverted expectation of that. Yeah.
right.
But the way they behave, her fans, it's very obvious which party it's supposed to represent.
Yeah.
That was okay. So in terms of satire, like it's just too real because
Right.
reality is so stupid that it's hard to do good satire of reality.
Yeah.
Without just lowering it to that level. But the one part that was like satire that made me laugh was towards the end. I feel like the second half for me was more enjoyable after we got through the first half, like,
Mhm.
and then realizing there was another hour to go. I was like, I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
The second half was okay though. It wasn't as irritating to me, but when there's a rally towards the end and there's the don't look up, the don't look up
Don't
thing,
look up.
and
Yeah.
one of the truck driver hat wearing guys in the crowd looks up. What, they lied? It's like that's been up there for like weeks at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. It's
So
visible
stupid.
now to the naked eye, and like, yeah, it was real all along.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was realistic to a point, but the thing that frustrated me and made me angry was how long it took them to get to the point ever, and that's not realistic. That's not real to me.
Well, I think
Except for it being an allegory for a thing that's actually happening, and we're still arguing about.
the premise of the thing is the whole thing, and I think the part of my problem, and maybe what you're kind of alluding to, Melanie, is like you get to the point of like what the movies make. You get to the point the movie's making
Mm-hmm.
pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and then it just hits that point for 2 hours, and that's
Yeah,
when I'm like,
yeah.
oh God, come on, I get it. We know. I
Yeah.
knew by the synopsis.
Yeah.
This is not good escapism.
No.
No.
And I'm not, well, we were just kind of talking about, I'm not necessarily like, movies don't have to be escapism, but this is like just hits on one of those not escapism things that I have very little tolerance for anymore in real life. So their fictional version of it, I wasn't super fond of.
Yeah. It's like
And-
still
and I
pushing
was
the
mad-
same button.
Right.
I was mad what they did with Leonardo DiCaprio's character because I liked him and I didn't like that he was kind of a
Right.
D-bag. And I really like his wife, and I was very upset for her.
Yeah.
Right. What were you going to say?
Nothing.
Oh.
Okay.
I just thought it was fun to see Leonardo DiCaprio just make a dumb movie that's not chasing an Oscar. It just like I was so happy to see this version of DiCaprio again.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need another Gangs of New York.
Right.
Well, but he's chasing ever since, what was it? The Bear Attack movie. I know it has a different.
Yeah.
That's not
Reverend.
Reverend.
Revenant.
Yeah. Ever since then, at least, he's chasing the climate change movies. Like, not that all movies he does are about that, but I know that's a thing. Like, he finally won an Oscar, and he used it to preach his climate change, whatever. I'm sure other people complain about.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So it made sense that he was in this, but I did enjoy the character because it's like he plays an anxious, I guess, kind of nerdy. He's just like whatever, a science guy, an anxious science guy who's got no game.
I love the bit where they're like, "Don't use any math," and he's like, "But it's all math."
Right.
Because it is.
I did want to slap him though when they have that first meeting with the president and he just is not spitting it out. It's like, dude, just spit it out.
Yeah.
That scene is a good example of like why this movie's just like nails on a chalkboard. It's like, just get to we get the joke, just get to it.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I love that he brings his chops to this role too, though. It's like
it's
played so well.
It is.
The acting's good. And what's her name?
Yeah. Oh, Savannah's not here, but she does the other main character. I don't remember her, Jennifer something, I think, right?
Yeah.
Savannah doesn't like her, but she likes her in this movie. So
Oh yeah, she's Mystique, right?
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah, there you go. Katniss Everdeen. That's her name.
At one time we were like, she's America's sweetheart.
Man, odds are never in her favor. They're never in her favor.
But I thought she was good in this. I liked her character actually.
Yeah.
I think she was my favorite character in it. And I love that
scene in the grocery store where she's just like, and they're just like, wow, you really don't care. Like, no, because we're all gonna die. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that whole bit with the kids, the teenagers.
Yeah.
that amused me. I was like, because it just didn't go anywhere I expected. She's like,
Right.
oh, she is gonna go hang out with them. Okay, cool. Yes.
I was glad they went through with it. At the end, and not had it like,
They didn't pull the big punch.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked how it was done.
I don't know who the one guy was supposed to be, like after the big electronics guy,
Right.
like the iPhone guy. I mean, he wasn't. I don't know who he's supposed to represent necessarily. But he's freaking weird, and I was like, is he the guy? Is he? At first, I was thinking he was the kind of guy that's like, everybody put on their Nikes, the spaceship is coming. I thought it was like that.
If that actor hasn't played one of those roles, he needs to.
Is that the same guy that played the main guy in Ready Player One?
I don't know.
It felt like a very similar portrayal if it wasn't even the same actor. But I mean, like, he's like an amalgam of so many different people. He's like weird and alien like Zuckerberg. He's clearly supposed to be kind of like Elon Musk in terms of his wealth and influence. And then he's also got like almost a Steve Jobs sort of style.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is weird amalgam.
Exactly. He did feel like, a combination of the obvious for what is it? What is the word? Spokesman, I guess, for a big tech company is whatever. His stuff was interesting. I did kind of enjoy his character is super weird. And I was okay with the end little comedic bit.
Yeah.
After everything goes down.
Yeah.
You get killed by a whatever. You don't even know what that is.
Right. See, I like that. That's going a little bit more like absurd and unrealistic. So,
but not the part where they keep track of everything you do and then use it to formulate theories about you.
Right.
But you know what? I read a thing once about the things that Facebook looks at, which I'm sure it's changed since then, but I would be considered smart because I like thunderstorms and curly fries and there's one other thing. And I'm like, really? Thunderstorms and curly fries? That makes you smart? I mean, okay, good. Because I like them, but strange.
yeah, that's not really. I guess they collected all that data on most people. They're like, we don't need that anymore. We just listen to you.
Yeah.
Was it the one time that the guy, was it Leo DiCaprio, like kind of claps back at him and he's just like, these are all the reasons that you suck. All my data points on how bad you are. And I was like, oh, he was just a big fan and you hurt his feelings.
There's one other thing I wanted to say about it, and I keep losing it. So it's all good.
Was the thing about the snacks was she was just stuck on that. He's like selling these snacks that are free. I love something about that, just making them wait, like that.
Yeah.
And I know, again, that's another analog for a certain administration, like criminally does that. But I bet all administrations do that to some degree, where it's like, this is a really important thing and we're just going to make you wait. And you know what? We're not going to have time to get that done today, so we'll talk to you tomorrow, even though we've waited here for hours.
I think Jonah Hill might actually be a bad word in person because he's just really good at being it that way.
Right. Yeah, plays a good one.
And his nice always seems fake when he's trying to be a nice guy.
Right.
But at least he's not like, he can be, he can kind of do some different stuff. He's not like a Mark Wahlberg where he has to be like either a cop or a bad guy or somebody from Boston.
or like James Franco, where he has to be a stoner or like super depressed.
Mhm.
He's got two moods. He's got two
Mhm.
looks.
Or apparently out of work as he got canceled. I guess James Franco got weirdly quietly canceled, where everybody's just like, yeah, no, he's canceled. It's like, what happened to him?
Right.
I enjoyed the things he was in.
Yeah,
What
no,
happened?
He chose interesting roles most of the time when he wasn't just co-signing whatever Seth Rogen was on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
I didn't
Seth
mind that
Rogen
either.
got all artsy, and now like he's the one to follow. He's doing interesting things that aren't just stoner laugh movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It took him long enough.
I'll stick with Seth Rogen for a while
I think him
until
and
he gets canceled, and then I'll be like,
Right.
I liked his stuff.
him and Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart should all do a thing together.
Right.
I'd watch that show. That'd be fun.
Hmm.
I just want to real quick, because I don't think this is going to be a show that we all watch, but after watching a certain Marvel superhero movie, I was oddly compelled to watch other movies that other actors might be in. And
Okay.
So I watched a movie that's on HBO Max. It's called Never Let Me Go, and it's set in this weird future where like humans are like genetically almost constructed, basically to like their whole goal is to become a organ farm for someone else.
Oh.
So they're almost like a clone with the purpose of if I need a kidney, you'll be the perfect match for me.
Right.
And so these people like grow up in this like commune type of situation. So they have like almost like a Catholic school type upbringing kind of deal. And so it focuses in around like these three friends that are all basically assigned to this fate, and follows them through essentially a life cycle, because they have, I can't remember what it's called, like like when they have to donate their organ, it's called something, and then when they're done, it's called, oh, you're finished, or something like that. And this is basically code for they gave too many organs and died.
Right. That I was just wondering why wouldn't they have like maybe 2 or 3? Because
That's basically what it is. Like you 2 or 3, and then you're done, unless like you needed an eye or something.
Mhm.
Like weird stuff like that. I don't even know if you can get an eye transplant, but I assume if you were literally invented to farm organs, then you'd probably be a perfect match for that kind of thing, if that's even possible.
Mhm.
But it's not a movie that was even on my radar, and it's kind of in the line of like a Green Knight and Don't Look Up kind of thing, in that it's not going to leave you feeling like good, right? But but it is a compelling watch. Very drama, so not gonna give you your adrenaline hit. But
is it as good as Gattaca? No, not Gattaca. What's the one where it's got Jude Law and Ethan Hawke, maybe? What is that called? And he's in the future, and he's pretending to be Jude Law because only genetically engineered people can go into space or something.
Well, that sounds like Gattaca, but
Is it? Maybe it is Gattaca.
that might be Gattaca.
Okay. Well, I was thinking maybe Gattaca was the one with Halle Berry, the scary one. That was not great.
No, Gattaca had Kill Bill lady. Can't think of her name offhand.
Uma
Uma
Thurman?
Thurman.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That's it.
Okay. So Never Let Me Go, looking at its IMDb while you were talking, sent me down a short rabbit hole. Because it's directed by Mark Romanek, that's a name I recognize. He used to do a lot of music videos and work with Nine Inch Nails and stuff. And he's done some other interesting movies like 1 Hour Photo.
Oh
which
yeah.
was
Okay.
Robin Williams thing.
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, what else has this guy done? And it looks like, because it surprised me that he'd done that because I don't think he's done a whole lot of movies still. And he hasn't. He's done shorts and TV and music videos still and a few movies. But Lock and Key 2010 TV movie. And I was like, wait, there was a Lock and Key 2010? I was like, is that based on the Lock and Key comic, of which there is now a Netflix series? Yeah, it was apparently a TV pilot shot in 2010 for Fox that did not get picked up. It just seemed very interesting to me.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would have been intrigued by what, he's definitely got a style, like not necessarily like a recognizable visual style, but his stuff's stylistic, but in a more natural way.
Natural, like something green.
Nice.
Oh man, speaking of comics. Okay, so how this, you know what? I want to pull up. We got to do this proper. If we're gonna do a comic review or discussion, we got to do this proper.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mind my loud typing.
Clicky clack.
Clack. Mechanical keyboard's the way to go. I guess unless you're like a streamer or something, then it's probably the worst idea. But okay, I'm actually was unsure of like what issues this collected.
I think it's just like a book, right? Or
it's just on its own, is it?
I think so.
Cool.
I think it's like they're releasing like basically a big issue. I don't know if you'd call it like an annual or that kind of thing, but like so it's called Book One. It's like I think on like sticker price, it's like $6 or something. So it's longer than your average comic, but it's not like in issues.
Yeah, it's like 40, not 50 pages, something like that. But what we're talking about is I did not. Yeah, I assumed it was like a trade. No wonder I couldn't find specifics.
Like what do they call that? A maxi trade or a maxi issue or something?
Yeah.
Kind of like when we did Superboy or Superman Secret Identity, how it was in like a bigger than normal comic, but not a full trade.
Right.
Like a mini trade.
So we're discussing Swamp Thing, Green Hell. Did I say that the first time? Whatever, Green Hell. From Book One, from DC Comics, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Doug Mahnke, and who's the other person on the cover? DC Comics page still doesn't like. I'm looking at it on DC Comics website, and they still don't list like the colorist and stuff like that. Put that on the website.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Respect your artists.
Right.
Anyway.
Are you gonna share it?
What?
The cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
This Swamp Thing's pretty.
Right now.
Oh yeah.
Not that one. That's small. See, when we used to do edited podcasts, we'd record these things beforehand, and then I'd spend hours editing them. You wouldn't hear none of this, but it still happened.
Oh yeah. This is how the sausage is made.
Yep. Now you get to hear it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure to find a good large image of it.
Okay.
How big is that? That's pretty big. There we go. All right. Share screen. I guess I don't have to say it out loud.
In case you ever wanted to know how this works. There it is. Look at that.
Yeah, so and the whole Jesse, I appreciate you even mentioning this. I did not realize this was a thing, and I did not realize Jeff Lemire wrote it, but you had messaged us in our group chat that you read it.
So I didn't know about it either, except that there was some news recently that Jeff Lemire was going exclusive with Image. So,
Oh,
but there were, it's exclusive because there are some caveats. He is going to finish out his Black Hammer stuff with Dark Horse, and
right.
he is going to finish out this Swamp Thing,
Mhm.
Green Hell. So, other than that, he's sticking with Image, which makes sense because a lot of his work is creator owned, and they've done well by him in that regard. Like a lot of his big things have come out through Image, right?
Mhm.
A few through Dark Horse, but like most of the stuff that you see in these other companies have been their IPs or an IP that he created for them, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, he's also done he did Sweet Tooth,
Mhm.
which of course the Netflix series is based on. You
Oh,
mentioned Black Hammer. What?
I wanted to. This is my opportunity to correct my faux pas from last week.
Right.
I mentioned that Hawkeye was Matt Fitton. Matt Fitton is a script editor for Big Finish. Gee, I wonder where I got that name. It was actually a Matt Fraction run, and why that's pertinent to this is that Jeff Lemire actually took over that Matt Fraction run after a certain point, or did a couple issues of that run later on. But I misstated last week about Hawkeye and that classic run. Okay.
No, yeah, all good, all good.
Mhm.
A good correction too, I suppose. That we'll end up with.
Yeah, I don't
No.
know gets about Hawkeye. I was like, no, I do. I got my favorite things mixed up.
Right.
I got my Big Finish Doctor Who stuff mixed up with my comic book stuff.
Mhm.
So even though Jeff Lemire, he is like super well known for his independently created stuff. It was his run on Animal Man that really like kind of hooked me on his stuff, because the New 52 launched back when I was reading comics. The New 52 was kind of like my comics reading period. I started around the beginning of that. It maybe fell off shortly after. It
Right.
totally coincidental both times, honestly. But his Animal Man run tied very close with Scott Snyder. He wrote a big chunk of it, not the whole Swamp Thing run, but tied into Swamp Thing. So the only reason I read Animal Man is because I was like, oh, it's Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing. I got to read that. And between the two, they were pretty much intertwined most of their runs.
Mhm.
Between the two, it was Animal Man that was like
Right.
the
I remember you
shining
saying
star.
that and being surprised because like you were so into most things Swamp Thing.
Right,
But between
right.
the two, it wasn't really a contest.
Well, I'm not sure who, like, if he come up with it or when that came in, but the introduction of the red and the rot, and like
Uh-huh.
especially the red, tied Animal Man pretty close to the whole Swamp Thing lore. And that's in your message you mentioned in this, Jeff Lemire, Swamp Thing, the green, the red, the rot, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm there. What is this? I gotta know.
Does this check every box? and folks, like if you want a quick synopsis of this
Yeah.
is like Old Man Logan if Swamp Thing aged.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that take on it.
Well, it's not, and it doesn't necessarily apply to Swampy himself, but it kind of does. It kind of does.
Mhm.
So
It's also very climate change oriented, I think, or
Right.
like
oh yeah, I always have like things I could say during the podcast that I never actually say, that I think about before the show. And I was gonna say, so in a very like like water world
Right.
where climate change is like ruining everything, which also happens to be the scenario in which this book takes place. I butchered it. See, this is why I don't say the things I think before.
uh-huh.
I set it up all wrong. I wish I could edit real life sometimes. So, yeah, it is like it's basically like a water world scenario.
We're heading that way, yeah.
There's a little bit of land, a few places you can live, but they mention that like the water just keeps rising. So,
Right. And it starts with these guys in a boat, and they're out there, and they can't even catch a fish. And it's kind of like laughable. It's like, what, did you think you were going to catch a fish? like was there like going into land? Or like, nobody catches anything, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure how to approach. Yeah, so most of this first book, there's not necessarily any like known characters or people we're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's kind of more setting up the world. You know, it's down the line, and everything's gone to crap. And there's a few people left, and they're like, "We're the last ones, and we're not going to last long." Type scenario,
Right?
Yeah.
And of course, some of those people are d-bags, and they are like, "Give me us your food." So there's human conflict, of course.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it did feel very Walking Dead. Like it made me think of Negan and his crew coming in on the survivors and being like, "It's that time of the month. You need to pay up."
Mm-hmm. But even worse than that, because the one dude's like, "Yeah, I know you were married to my sister and that's my niece, but still, give me everything you got." You know?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we could go full spoilers. I don't want to jump to the very end yet, but we do get a Swamp Thing in this. That's not
right. Yeah, it's the green, basically. Was it the green, the rot, and the red are all basically like, we've had enough. They have ruined this place. We can fix this, but first we got to deal with the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was
people.
interesting. Yeah, the three, and if you're unfamiliar, the green was kind of the first one that came along in the comics. And that's, you know, nature, the plants, stuff like that. That's what makes a swampy a swampy.
Well, that's an Alan Moore construct, isn't it?
Yeah. With the Parliament of trees, and the rot is decay, kind of personified in a way, like it's its own thing, and it's always disgusting. Like I feel like the rot for artists probably are fun if they like drawing gross stuff.
Yeah.
And then the red is meat. Basically, it's animals.
Right.
They actually they had several others that they made or that they introduced at one point in time, but yeah, it'd be too confusing to bring all the rest of them in.
Well, I know there was technology in the later part of I don't know if it was so much Animal Man, but the later part of the New 52, or maybe even post that Swamp Thing, brought in technology
There's
as a
also,
thing.
I think, fungus and
that'd be good. Yeah.
and then one other one at least, but I don't remember what it is.
Right.
I feel like the
And
blue is that just the blue swampy from space? I feel like he like tapped into the blue or something else.
Right. That's such the blue. Was it My Blue Heaven or whatever? That's such a good issue.
Yeah.
But the three, the green, the red, and the rot are like, we don't like it underwater, and this is not going to do what we're not. We need to get rid of these people. And even the red's like, hey, that's I can't act against humanity because I'm meat. Like that's acting against my own interest. But we can survive on small creatures. But they're all like, underwater's no good. We don't like it. But we need to get rid of these humans. And basically, I don't remember why the rot couldn't do it, but they're like, green, you got to take care of these people.
Right.
Parliament of Trees like, all right, we got it. And they make a new Swampy out of one of the jerk humans. He gets killed and thrown in some water, and now we've got basically a avenging Swampy.
I know that the Swampy thing changes how he is created, but it seemed like that was real quick. Like he fell in the water, and then like instantly there's the Swampy. I thought they had to have some kind of like, something happen. Like first of all, I thought they had to die from fire, but I guess that's wrong. And then don't they have to like grow into a Swampy, not just like it's instant?
He was ripe. He would say he's ripe. Yeah, well,
Well, I'll call the Alec version or whatever, like that's like there was some kind of formula, there was an explosion, he was in the swamp. They tried to make it your classic DC origin where it's like there's all just this irreparable, or not irreparable, but something you can't replicate, unreplicable
Yeah.
origin. You know, like the lightning struck Barry Allen, and this weird mix of chemicals, and the lightning turned him into the fastest man alive.
Right. But no, yeah, it's super quick in this though. It's like he falls in the water. Everyone's still fighting, and he's up. And I didn't realize, although looking at the cover now, yeah, it's DC Black Label. Whoa, this is gory. This is super gory. Kind of like
so this is like the new Vertigo, right?
Yes, yeah. It's apparently the only thing they can't do is show Batman's wang. That's the only time they pulled something, and they're like, and people got upset, and they ended up censoring it. But otherwise, they could do whatever they want, I guess. They're weirdly like they're real kind of touchy when it comes to Batman's love life, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. It was just like, no, he'd do anything for love, but he won't do that.
Right, heroes don't do that.
Heroes don't.
That was referenced
Harley
to something
Quinn.
not long ago.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
that was Harley Quinn, and them talking about him doing something with Catwoman.
Oh, did they even reference that in Harley Quinn?
I think so, maybe.
Okay, that's funny. Heroes don't do that. I love that they got told that, and so they just used that direct line in the Harley Quinn show. But yeah, like it, you know, it's there was that Swamp Thing live action show that we never even finished, and that was like a rated R movie, right? And they had, except it was an Alec Holland Swamp Thing, but they had Swamp Thing go full like tear people apart monster, and yeah, that's kind of how this one is. It's interesting to see a Swamp Thing. You don't see it often in the comics. A Swamp Thing creature just be able to like whatever tear people apart, and it's so easy.
It's kind of like a zombie. Like he doesn't really. Does he speak? I'm blanking.
He does,
on if
but
he does.
He says a couple things to the one character that was his brother-in-law or whatever. That has some of his personality, basically like mentioning the sister or whatever. But otherwise, he just says like no more, the end or whatever.
Right.
Because before he got killed, he was like, this is like, there's no point to any of us being here. This is dumb. We should all just be gone. This should be over. The world's over.
Right.
And then he got killed, and that's kind of seems to be his thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like a weird choice for a Swampy, except he's a good choice for the purpose, I suppose.
Right. Nihilism.
Yeah, basically. What's
Nihilism. That? Nihilism plus, the edict of the Parliament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was down with that, and then we get to the end, and it's got the I was like,
big spoiler now, yeah,
because they mentioned him in the lighthouse, and I'm like, was it like, is that where Swampy's at?
I kept thinking it was going to be Aquaman or something. I was like, because there's a lighthouse reference and all this stuff. I was like, is it going to be Aquaman? Like, this is a weird way to take this Swamp Thing book. And I'm like, is it going to be Alec Holland or something weird?
I was thinking it was going to be the guy that was in charge of the rot. What's that? He was the like uncle of Abby.
Oh yeah, they ended up making Arcane.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. Oh.
Yeah, at one point, Arcane kind of
got out of hell.
Yeah, and he went to the side of the rot because that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I guess since when you're dead, that would happen,
right? But
it was neither. It was none of those people.
It was. Oh man, and they knew. They're like, okay.
Yeah. It was a good call.
Other Swamp Things do okay, right? Like other Swamp Things, new series, they do okay. But everyone wants the Swamp Thing characters. And so turns out the guy in the lighthouse who nobody wants to talk to, and he doesn't talk to any of the people in the little community that's on this island. It's Constantine.
Yeah.
Which is so good. Such a good reveal.
Perfect way to do it.
Mm-hmm. And no wonder nobody talks to him, because everybody he talks to dies.
That's true. As established.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
That's Grawlix lore for y'all. So, go back into the back catalog and listen to all the things we have to say about John Constantine. It's true. They die.
Yep.
so this angry evil Swampy is ripping through town, and they go to the guy at the lighthouse, Constantine, and and they're like, help us, and he's like, oh, I know what to do. Yeah, blah blah blah. And I mean, I don't know how, but whatever, magic.
Yep.
He resurrects or conjures Alec Holland Swamp Thing,
Who has apparently been dead or in the heaven that Swamp Things go to.
Oh yeah, he's very upset.
Not having it.
Yeah, but
I guess it makes sense because he's magic or whatever. But is Constantine immortal? Because I mean, he looks a little aged, but he doesn't.
I wonder if he doesn't time travel at some point, like that's a thing, because I was wondering that too. Like, how far in the future is this? How is he possibly still alive kind of thing?
They make him old. Like he's old, and the little girl even says like, what's he gonna do? He's an old man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it maybe this future is not that far out,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But also when I think Constantine, I think, I don't know, 20s, 30 something maybe,
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s or whenever like a lot of the Alan Moore
Sure.
stuff was written. But he's a comic book character, so he's potentially always like 30 like now in 2020 or 2022. Right. So, I don't know, 40, 50 years down the line maybe?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of 50s maybe a bit much. No, it's possible.
Yeah, he could be 70s.
Yeah.
The way he's drawn in this, yeah.
Oh.
But also supernaturally augmented, I mean,
Right.
as far as if you think about like Old Man Logan, well, that works with him because he's got the healing factor, which slows his aging. The Hulk in that who knows if the Hulk can even die? He just has to be mad all the time. Yeah. But I don't feel like that was that far in the future either, because most of those characters are still alive, like the Red Skull and all them.
Mm-hmm.
The Hawkeye's still alive, so maybe it's not that far down the road. But this feels like maybe just an alternate history, or not alternate history, but an alternate future.
Right.
So not Kingdom Come, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is there anything that sets this up, or is this just a?
I think it's just
one of those
like an Elseworlds,
standalone.
just like like an Old Man Logan kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else to it.
Right.
Because I know there's a Swampy. I think there's a Swampy going on now. In fact, I know there's a mini series that was slated for 10 or 7 issues. I don't know, and it got extended. But I don't think it's, I think it's a different Swampy, and even though I said I'd start reading comics again when they started doing more Swampies, and they have been,
This is the one that brought you back.
This is the one that brought me back appropriately.
He got out, and we just reeled him back in.
Elderly Constantine conjured me from where I was at.
and he's almost as mad as Alec.
This was good. It was too short.
Yeah.
We did have, of course, I should have figured, we had a lot to say about it, but like really world building, initial setup, that's it. There's not a lot of other stuff going on. So
yeah,
I wanted more, but it looks like
that's
February.
A good sign. Yeah.
Yeah. I think February book 2 is supposed to come out.
I'm in. I recommend it. You will be disappointed, but you will be left wanting more, which is a good kind of disappointed, not the bad kind of disappointed.
Yeah, because I love Swamp Thing and things that grow, like bacteria, like in my thing you should be amazed by.
Oh, what should we be amazed by?
The 3 previously unknown strains of bacteria were discovered growing on the International Space Station. And it's happened before, like I think 2011 and 13 and 15 or something like that. They found some, but these ones, the newly discovered strains, are members of the Methylobacteria, Agemali. I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong.
It's all good.
Bacteria family, which is commonly found in soil and fresh water, and they assist plant growth by fixing nitrogen and preventing pathogens. So they assume that they came from some of the plant growing experiments that they've been doing on ISIS, excuse me, not ISIS. On the ISIS. And they're excited about them because they think that these strains could be beneficial to space farming, and could help this, could help the food grow faster and stronger and whatever. And the only other thing, which isn't necessary, but I like that they had to add in that they've been experimenting with growing different kinds of plants to supplement their diets, but also because it's psychologically advantageous for them to grow plants. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So yeah, they grow plants for food, but they grow them so that they don't go crazy also. And now there's new bacteria because of it. So, yay.
Space bacteria.
Yep.
That makes me think of Christopher R. Mims' The Moon Zombies.
Yeah?
Yeah. Which are just like plant zombies on a moon base.
Was that one of the shorts in that?
No, that's a full-blown one. So,
oh yeah,
no, that's a fun one. That's one of my favorites because it's very Star Trek, very that kind of thing.
Sorry, I think the shorts one had my favorite bit, which was the people in the wall or whatever.
The wall people. That was so good.
Yeah,
Creepy.
Mm-hmm.
That's our go-to. That's what we go to. That's our go-to. It's what we go to. And on those profound words,
how do you know we're ready to wrap it up? We can't word anymore with our face mouths.
Right. Yeah. Hey. Well, Jesse, you got anything exciting coming up?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I do. I'm going to be talking Cobra Kai season 4 with Lee Searcy on the Covert Nerd podcast. Cool. We've been kind of doing one a year since I think it was season 2. Been rapping with Lee and his daughter Ruth about all things Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, and we'll we usually get into the weeds a little bit. So I'm going to be recording that this weekend, and so I don't know when it'll go out, but it should be coming up soon, and I'll let you know more when I know more about the release date.
Awesome. I will be I don't know when it's coming out, but here soon, I think this weekend, I'll be recording an episode I'll be joining Paul and Billy on Moose's Monster Mash to talk about some of the top 2021 horror movies.
Oh man, those are going to be some interesting potentially conflicting views, because I know you all have like all three of you have different criteria, the way that you rate movies is wildly different. So that'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting.
Definitely a listen.
I know one of the movies we'll be discussing will be Malignant, and that's one that we got into spirited conversations, between me on the live show and Paul in the chat. So
right.
But I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, especially since there was only probably a handful of things that came out, or maybe horror thrived in this current era we're in.
Right.
Because we had Candyman, we had some, all the Halloween ones, or at least the last 2 or whatever.
Right there. Oh yeah. There were. I put together a list of I just searched through a bunch of the horror movies that came out last year, and there were more than I had realized. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple that I know that they were going to want to talk about. I think Paul, he selected 7 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to talk about all of them that came out, but some of the kind of key highlights we're going to talk about.
Sure.
But there were several, and I was like, oh, I gotta catch up. That's part of the reason I watched Candyman in the first place a few weeks ago,
because you knew.
Yeah, and because I know also Spiral's on there, and I don't want to watch that one. So
Spiral, is that the Jigsaw wannabe?
yeah, that's
yeah,
from the Book of Saw.
from the Book of Saw. Oh, good.
And maybe it's fine, and maybe I'll watch it
Was that Book
randomly.
of Shadows? Blair Witch 2?
That's what we should be talking about.
Yeah, never mind these movies that are new and relevant. We need to go back to the sequel no one really expected.
Best horror movie 2021. Same horror movie it's been every year since it was released. Blair Witch 2.
Yes. So bizarre.
I think I should go find my own podcast to hang out on because it's just,
You don't want to talk about cool stuff?
Yeah, I do want to talk about cool stuff. That's where I need to.
You set yourself up on that one.
I didn't even think about it. No, because Jesse's going to talk Cobra Kai with Lee, and I'm going to go talk horror movies with Paul. And well, what kind of things do you want to talk about with somebody else?
I don't know, science and cool stuff, music and movies and all the things.
Okay, you need to make some podcast friends.
I don't like making friends, man.
Get ready for the Melanie solo show.
Yep.
Woo! I actually have like 3 that I like wrote stuff for and never started.
Yeah,
She does. She has episodes of shows that she's written out that she wants to do. Well, you're here now. You know how to edit a podcast now.
That's true.
You're like one of the best editors I know. You are the best editor I know. So, you had a good teacher, and you have recording gear here. If for people still watching, if you don't know, she's right on the other side of that time vortex tunnel. So she's in the same room. That's why I don't have headphones.
all roads lead to Melanie. This is a 1-point perspective here.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. So look for that in the future. In the future.
Hashtag in the future.
In the future. All right. Yes. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks people for watching, and thanks Savannah for watching, and thanks to anybody else who might be watching or in the future. If you want to hear more, go to grawlixpodcast.com, GRAWLIX podcast.com. Stay safe. Things are crazy again. They never stop being crazy.
Yeah, they are. That's why my beard's so small. I had to lop half of it off because we're under a mask mandate again. So, yay!
I mean, I should stop this stream now, but I just want to say, I knew it was bad, right? But I didn't, I've just kind of been so occupied, and I rarely leave the house anyway.
Right.
I didn't realize it was quite so bad. Like, numbers are higher now than they have been, than they were in 2020.
Yeah, no, this new strain is super crazy contagious.
Well, I happened to get my booster. I guess maybe my doctor being like, have you got your booster yet? You really should go get your booster. Go get your booster today. We have a pharmacy on your way out. You can get your booster. Like, I should have been like, he's real adamant about this. So I got my booster shot yesterday, and I'm going to make Melanie go get one. I don't know. Next time we go somewhere. So.
I really got on it when I started to see the numbers tick up in my own building and in the district. So I was like, yeah, time to get that booster.
Yeah, I just didn't really, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it, and I wasn't sure what the deal, like, I don't know. I didn't want to pay for it. I mean, if I had to pay for it, I would still do it, but I just wasn't sure what the deal with the booster was. So,
well,
listeners should go get their boosters too, and let's talk about the rest later, huh?
Fair enough.
I thought this was a nice little, not a nice.
It's a little PSA. We should just do the right thing, people. Just do it, and don't look up.
They lied to me.
It's right there.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.